All right, let's see how this works out. Let's see how this goes. We're gonna try actually doing kind of like a stream on Twitch. Got myself here. Have this actually going on live. So for all these other StarCraft Underground casts, they've just been kind of VODs, right? Like uploaded, a little bit of commentary. We're gonna actually try to do this where, if anyone happens to stumble upon this and there's a chat, maybe a little bit of interaction. But anyway, today what we're going to be jumping into, there's a lot of casts that I need to catch up on. I'm very, very behind. StarCraft Underground has been growing pretty quick, and there's been a lot of tournaments that I need to do. So what I'm looking for here is, okay, cool. So I'm going to try to do a couple of games tonight. The very first one that we have is from Brood War Tournament number 3. So tournament number 1 is already uploaded on the YouTube channel. Same for StarCraft 2. Today we're going to be doing Brood War, and Brood War number 2 is still kind of in motion. It's not completed yet. We are on the finals for that, but Brood War number 3 has been done for quite some time. So it's the third one that's complete. We're going to go ahead and jump into the finals here in just a second. Or I'm sorry, the lower bracket semifinals, and then we'll do the finals. And then later, depending on how much time this takes, there's another tournament that I need to get through and actually do as well. There's been 4 completed so far in StarCraft Underground. So we'll see how it all goes. But let's go ahead and jump into game number 1. So game number 1, we do have Javi versus Nevane. This is, again, the lower bracket semifinal. So the winner of this match, it's a best of 3 series, will go on into the finals from the lower bracket. So when they do get to the finals, the individual that came from the winner's bracket will be there with 1 map win automatically. And then the lower bracket will have to play a best of 5 from behind when they get to the final. So we're gonna determine who that is between Javi and Nevane. Very exciting. Also, so crack a cold one, jump in here, and let's get some StarCraft going. Alrighty, so welcome back to some StarCraft Underground. Up here in the top right, we do have our let's shift tab it, our blue Terran in Javi. And down here in the bottom right, we have our red Protoss Nevane. I feel like both of these players get a good amount of airtime, having, a somewhat limited pool of players in the Brood War community, but it's growing super fast, and both of these players have been doing really well. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and real quick, we're going to look at, oh, you know what I think I need to do? I'd like to, yeah, let's get rid of the timer. And let's go ahead and reveal the whole map here real quick. So this is Radion, very standard map, right? We have kind of the 4 spawn start in each of the corners. Obviously, these two are sharing the same side. And there's not really a whole lot to talk about here. I think, a couple of things that I've brought up in the past based on some of my observations is that, this bridge area, like this as a third base for both of these players, is a very important spot, right? Like controlling this bridge, controlling this area when you're on the offense and containing your opponent up into their main and their natural with a very tight choke and some eggs is just super important. So anyway, I'll go ahead and kill the map now, and let's go ahead and get on into it. So we do have Javi, just standard barracks, supply depot. Nevane did go for an assimilator and a gateway, meaning that we're probably, obviously going to see a lot of Dragoon play coming from him. And we have the scouting kind of going off. We've got Nevane heading over here to the bottom left. Check out what's going on that side of the world. And we do have Javi coming down. And Javi's going to, I don't know, it looks like he's drifting over to the left as well. Yeah, so neither player going to get a first attempt scout off. Cybernetics Core being constructed for Nevane. Barracks complete. Going to see a couple Marines, another supply depot, which is going down over here. Yeah, nothing crazy from either of these players. Something that I'm curious to see, though, with Navane is if he ends up going Heavy Reaper, and I'm wondering if there's going to be something that when he gets here, he may see that's going to kind of push towards that. Now, I'm trying to remember if I have him mixed up with another Protoss player, but there's one that goes just Reaper drop against Terran all the time, and I think it might be Navane. I might be wrong as well. First Dragoon coming out. No Zealots being constructed or made or spawned or whatever you want to call them. 2 Marines, going to get 3 Marines total. It does look like, oh, okay, so it looked like Javi was about to make a 4th. Did cancel it. Dragoon range is also being upgraded. Ooh, good body block right there. Getting in the way of this SCV. Even as the SCV comes in, he's not really going to see much, and he is going to die pretty quick. Looks like one more shot will do him in. There he goes. And the probe not getting in at all. Factory constructed, seeing a vulture. And just around, you know, I'm wondering if, yeah. No? Okay, so he's going to go bunker first. I was actually wondering if Javi was going to save those minerals and get a command center right off the bat. But I guess when he was over there, he saw just 1 Dragoon, which I don't know if that tipped him off or made him wonder if maybe there were Zealots out on the field somewhere. Or if he just wanted to make sure that against a couple early Dragoons, when there's no tanks out, that he had that bunker full of Marines as well. Which that's probably likely the case. Bunker's going to shoot the Dragoon back a little bit. Range will be up here in just a second. These both will come in, start attacking this bunker. Javi is already prepared with 2 SCVs ready to repair the bunker once that starts happening. Mines are being upgraded. And both players are taking their natural expansion. Okay, so second factory, opting to go into engineering bay, get those turrets up in preparation for some kind of drop, if that's going to be something that Navane goes for. And Navane is starting the Dragoon dance. But SCVs were here. They'll be repairing this up just fine. I think, I mean, the biggest risk here is that the SCVs, like, repair it all the way up. And then, yeah, I think we're actually seeing that right there, where they repair so fast that they heal it up to 100%, and then they stop repairing. And then they don't pick up the repair again as it starts getting damaged. And you can see it here, right, with the bunker starting to catch on flame, not being repaired at the moment. And Javi notices and gets them back on it. Luckily, there's only 2 Dragoons, so nothing terribly impactful. Now, this Vulture that was out before is going to be setting some mines for when any type of reinforcements start coming into play or approaching Javi's base, but also in the event that these Dragoons are forced to retreat. So the tank is out, which is generally the trigger for the Dragoons to be like, all right, later, see ya. And what is going to happen here is they're going to get schwacked by these mines. Boom! There goes one. Here comes the other. Beautiful play. That was awesome. This is why, you know, both these players have made it to the semifinals from nice little tactics like that. Now, I see that this Vulture's a little banged up, and I don't think I saw when that happened. It looks like perhaps the Vulture poked in here and took a couple shots from a Dragoon. And now we've got a single tank push. Okay, and I think this is probably a good idea. I don't know, though. There's 5 Dragoons here, but the fact that those 2 got eliminated so quickly really provided an opportunity where I'm not surprised that Javi was thinking that then was a good time to push. Got another tank back home, so he is still pretty safe from the any attempted Dragoon push at this moment. And he did sneak a Vulture by and got a couple probe kills for his efforts. Okay, we do have Vulture speed being upgraded, and we do have the armory going down as well. So with seeing all the Dragoons, I don't know, I'm wondering if Javi's going to just bring in some Goliaths once these are constructed, or if he's going to increase his turret count. Hoping, you know, maybe he didn't get distracted during those engagements. And I still feel like having anti-drop play is important. But you know, on the flip side of that coin, Nevane is going observers right now. He doesn't have any shuttles on the field, and this is obviously because he's having to respond to the mines being everywhere. Needs the observers to see those and not get any more surprise splashes on Dragoons like this one right here. So being able to clear those is super important for him. Okay, now we have the little double vulture kill squad running out here. I imagine these are just going to go to these like third bases and start dropping mines. Yeah. And this one's going to identify that the third base has started here. Now he does get that probe, which is nice, but the Nexus has already begun. And Nevane is bringing back his force. Mines going down at the other potential Nexus locations. Observer flying in, seeing everything that's going on, seeing that it is going up to 5 factory. Also seeing that there's a lack of turret defense. Now, I don't know if that's going to come into play or not, but I think it is something worth noting that there's really no anti-air on the field outside of this bunker and this single turret. Plenty of mines being spread around. These are going to provide great vision for in the event. Like, I know I love talking about drops. I just think they're so powerful when executed properly, but these mines are going to give early warning to any type of drops that are going around the edges of the map, in addition to any expansions that Nevane tries to get onto the field. Avi being a little supply blocked at the moment, I think is, you know, impacting his production. This supply depot will be done here momentarily, and he's immediately blocked again. So he needs a couple rounds of supply depots. And wouldn't be surprised if he actually starts a third command center here at some point as well. Is this a turret? Does look like he's building a couple more turrets, so that's good to see. 3 bases looking healthy. We do have a shuttle out on the field now. And a Stargate being made. So Nevane might be opting to be preparing for some Arbiter play. Or even, yeah, that's probably the play. Of course, he needs the Arbiter Tribunal. But I'm not seeing Templar Archives, which wouldn't matter with combination of the Stargate, but also a direction that I think Nevane might go would be like Storm Drops. Okay, so there's the Templar Archives. And then a cannon just to defend against any drops that may come in his way. Just a couple near his mineral patches. Just recognizing that he doesn't have any anti-air at the moment. Probably a wise decision. And he is going over and taking his 4th. And he is opting to go this direction, which is not a terrible surprise. It is away from the Terran as far as like expansion directions go. And he... Oh, it was just a pylon. He didn't even get a Nexus down. Okay, so the mine was in the way. I don't know why I thought that was a Nexus. And he's going to bring some Dragoons down with an Observer to clear this corner and then probably try to reestablish that 4th base. Now, no 3rd CC still down for Javi. Opting to build quite a terrifying army. This is a lot of tanks, and he's got Goliaths out now. So any type of shuttle zealot bombs that maybe try to attempt, you know, storm drops that may try to go out onto the siege tank force when it's sieged up. Those are going to be wiped out very quickly with these Goliaths. And he has the Goliath range being upgraded as well. And once that's done, he'll be very tough to push into. Now, he does have these vultures out here just to check and see if his 3rd base is feasible. It does look like Javi is eyeing this base as opposed to going farther, which makes a lot of sense from a Terran perspective. Your mobility isn't quite that of the other races. So staying close, staying within the ability to wall off with siege tanks in just a long line really makes this the better choice. As opposed to like the Protoss expansion route that went completely across the bottom. Also, still no probe over here to try to get this base going. And you know what's interesting is I'm wondering if this pylon's in the way. It might be, and this probe might actually end up going to the main base instead to try to get a Nexus down and then run into that, you know, the difficulty of the mine. Okay, so the Nexus can fit, no issue. I was wrong on that. Ooh, very timely scans are going to see the Protoss army moving out towards Javi. You know, Javi wants Nivane to attack into this. There are so many siege tanks, there's so many mines, so many Goliaths and Vultures. This is just a very, very powerful army. Now Nivane runs up, he snipes that observer, or I think it was observer. Was it a shuttle? Oh my gosh, was that the shuttle? He might have just knocked out the shuttle. That'd be very powerful. But Nivane is spreading across the map. Javi is a very terrifying force, but the economy and the production capabilities of the Protoss player are going to get very scary here if left completely untouched. There hasn't been much harassment that has occurred. There hasn't really been, you know, Vulture run-bys or anything of that sort, but here comes a large move out. I think that this is going to be one enormous decisive battle as Javi tries to crawl these siege tanks, leapfrog them south across the map. Yeah, and this attack is just continuing to move forward. He's starting to grab a lot of space, and when he's placing all these mines, and he has these scans available with the Goliaths. Now I hear the cloaks from the Arbiter going off. Sorry, a little distracted. Huge battle occurring. The Arbiter is flying over. The Goliaths do snipe it. So now all of the cloak is gone from these units, and they're just getting obliterated. There's so many Vultures here, so many Goliaths in support of just this enormous tank line. And what I really like about this tank line as well is that it's deep, right? It's not just a large horizontal spread with a bunch of surface area where the Zealots can jump into it. It's layer and layer and layer so that the Zealots really can't, you know, if they kill a couple tanks, they still have to run through a bunch of others if they were going to advance. So right now, I think Nivane is really thinking delay. You know, he doesn't have a force that can hit this head on yet. He needs to power back up. He lost that Arbiter, which I think he was going to want to use for some sort of recall play, or even better yet, to stasis out a lot of these tanks. But that went down. And right now, it does seem like Nivane, he's pumping all of his production into Zealots, which he needs, because these Dragoons alone aren't going to fare very well against all of these siege tanks. They really need the Zealot support to come in and get in the face of those so that they can advance. I do like that he's circling around, but there's really no need for Javi to adjust what he has here. Tank reinforcements are coming in. The Vultures are moving up to support. A good scan is going to be able to see everything underneath these Arbiters, but the Goliaths here should keep the Arbiter at a healthy distance. And right now, Nivane's still up in the supply, but this is just so many tanks. But I think the way to approach this, and I'm not entirely sure, but there's only a couple Goliaths here, and it's obviously too late for any type of tech switch, but some sort of air or maybe storms against these huge clumps of tanks. If he can get a stasis off, that would be huge, just to help delay again. So he gets not the greatest stasis. I feel like if he had hit this clump, that would have been much more beneficial. And Nivane definitely on the back foot here. Javi's starting to bank some minerals, keeping the production primarily on Vultures right now. I mean, he's lost a decent amount of tanks, but there's still a very substantial force. Zealots for days. Another Arbiter being produced as well. Zell's trying to dive in here. A couple of good mine drags. Defense matrix going down on this tank here is soaking up a good amount of damage from those zealots before they're finally eliminated. And I think this might be it. I think Javi might just have enough to push in here and get on top of the Protoss production. I think maybe at least enough to contain the production and what's coming out to this corner. So Navain has... I completely missed this. I didn't even see that he had a contingent of his army going towards this third base. I was going to say that the third and fourth base are looking happy and healthy so that the money is still flowing, but the third's been knocked out, and these few tanks, you know, that's enough to take this out as well. It's going to take a little bit of time, but there's really no way. I mean, everything's completely cut off from the main base. So yeah, Navain up against the ropes, I'd say, in this lower bracket finals. And GG. Okay, so we saw Navain go down. That is the first round. Let's go ahead and go into game number 2. So this is a best of 3 series. Great game by both players. As I said earlier, you know, we've watched a lot of both of their games. All right, so we'll go into game number 2. This one is going to be on Metropolis. Somebody followed. I'm not sure who it was. Oh, it's possibly. What's up, possibly? Possibly, maybe, everybody. Great username. Okay, so Metropolis, we've got Navain up here in the top right as our red Protoss. We've got Terran up here in the top left as our blue Terran. Going over the map real quick. So Metropolis, I always feel like it's really important to just kind of, you know, StarCraft Underground, it has a lot of new players in addition to experienced players. So newer players may not be completely familiar with a lot of the Brood War maps. One of the biggest features or issues with Metropolis, the thing that makes it unique, is the drop capabilities here. So if you look at the map as a whole, right, the main base has a very large empty area that extends from it. And you can kind of see it here, right? And it's not so much this part by the natural because there's a lot of traffic here. This is generally where a lot of buildings and production get placed because they can easily get down the ramp. But up here where there's very little reason to extend out here during the early and middle game until you start building a lot of buildings. And so what's interesting about this map is, one, you have this area that you can sneak drops in. The natural has a big gap behind it where tanks, reavers, things of that sort can be dropped and be a huge pain in the butt. But also the rotational symmetry of the map. So in my opinion, I think that there's some advantages depending on where the spawns end up. And in this particular game, the vulnerable location for the Terran is right here, which is close to Protoss, right? So in theory, it's a shorter distance to fly over into this vulnerable area, right? Reaver drop, whatever. Probe, drop a pylon, do some shenanigans, whatever the case may be. Whereas if Terran were to do the same thing, Terran would have to fly all the way around and hit the south side of the Protoss base. So anyway, I've probably talked to death with how many times I've casted this map at this point, but I just think it's so cool. And it's really, really fun when it gets exploited. And you'll see the players take actions directly in response to the shape of this map. I have no doubt that you'll probably see Navain go down to the southern portion of his peninsula, and I'm calling it a peninsula, whatever the geographic formation of that is, and you drop like a pylon right there. And you'll probably see similar things from the Terran as well. Either run over there, you know, build a supply depot, ensure that there's turrets, something along those lines. So we do have Zealot and Probe running south. Generally, when I see this kind of thing, usually the Probe goes one direction and then the Zealot will go the other during the scouting portion. Specifically if the Probe doesn't see anything. And that's, I think, what we're seeing. But the Probe's not going cross-spawn. So Navain is going to end up with a Probe and a Zealot at Javi's base. And Javi, you may not see it because there's stuff up there, but his SCV is parked up here, scouting Navane's base. So, wonderful time before the bunker is created, where there's kind of this huge micro battle that occurs with Marines and Zealots. Zealots early game are just so powerful against Marines, and generally what you'll see is, you know, some sort of Sim City where the Marines can run back and forth through a barracks supply depot kind of wall if the bunker isn't prepared to defend, and that's how they'll deal with the Zealot. But the Zealot does run away, realizes that, you know, got a couple Marines, which was really beneficial because it's going to force Avi to maybe produce more. Yeah, he lost 2, so he did end up having to produce an extra Marine, and he's going to produce another one, right? So damage was done. That was an effective use of Navane's Zealot, which he didn't do last game. Last game, he just went straight into Dragoon production and Dragoon range, which he is getting again. And this time, Javi's still prepared for the Dragoons to run out. All right. But he did take those SCVs. He ran them back to mining. I think with his SCV that was up here, it's dead now, but I think he was probably seeing that he had some time until the Dragoons actually made it over. Nexus being constructed. Our Terran player has already created the command center here at the Natural. And then you see the engineering bay going down as kind of like the first tech building as well, even before the factory. And I would argue that this is probably a map decision that I was talking about earlier with kind of the vulnerabilities to air harassment and drops, etc. Robo facility being produced. We'll have to see if he goes shuttles or observers. And I think that will largely depend on, I don't know, the number of vultures and mines that Navane is seeing Javi produce. Okay, 4 SCVs here. It's a little bit overkill. He only needs 2 to repair. Javi will likely bring 2 back to continue mining. And then Navane is preparing for his 3rd base. So it actually looks like the engineering bay isn't just to unlock the tech for turrets, but it looks like Javi's actually going for more of a biocentric push. He's getting stim upgraded from his academy. He's getting the armor upgrade for his Marines. Getting the factory. And he's going straight to tanks. Okay, so he's not doing kind of like the heavy vulture build. This is going to be a Marine medic tank push that he's setting up for. And I'm curious to see what the trigger ends up being, because I'm not entirely sure with this build what it's going to look like. I'd imagine it's probably a tank count trigger. He'll probably push after he gets 2 tanks. But he's a little bit on the defensive, so I don't even think he's really thinking too much push timing as much as get these Dragoons the heck away from his bunker. Now, one of these Dragoons is already pretty banged up, and unfortunately, wow, just out of range of an unsieged tank. He's got siege mode being researched. As soon as that's done, this is going to get pushed away. It's going to be having to run straight home. We have 2 barracks and medic production starting. We have Marine range being researched. And Navane is a little supply blocked on the Protoss side. See, so siege is done. These are going to have to run away. Almost gets a couple of them as well. That would have been very beneficial for Javi. And I thought I saw an observer being produced. Whoops, I didn't mean to turn off his vision. Okay, 3rd base is built. Dragoons are kind of clearing. I think they're making sure that, one, this is defended from any type of like vulture harass or potential wraiths. Again, Navane hasn't really seen what's going on inside of Javi's base since that initial zealot. And this will, you know, aid in making sure that a probe transfer is safe and they're not going to get sniped along the way as well. They can be kind of an escort if he decides to go that route. All right, so the tank count's a little large. Well, not large, but we're at 3. So I think when it comes to an early-ish push, I imagine we probably would have seen it, but the Marine count is pretty low. He's about to bolster that, getting 6 barracks online. And a turret somewhere is seeing an observer. There we go. So an observer that did kind of go a little too far into Javi's natural did get sniped. And both players just powering up. Zealot legs being researched. Templar archives going down. I think we're going to definitely see Storm this game. Storm being researched as well. So, yep, definitely going to see it. And this is so scary to do. Like whenever I play against Protoss, I am always terrified to try to go bio against them because I just have so much scar tissue with a single Reaver just completely melting a bio force so fast in a blink of an eye. But the big threat this time is going to be those storms. Now 5 tanks, a whole grip of Marine medic. This looks like a very strong push. This is obviously not going to hold it. It's going to have to fall back to this group. And we'll see how fast Navain can react here. He might lose a Dragoon right off the bat. Yep, 1 Dragoon and 1 Zealot goes down. And now he's starting to retreat. A lot more Marines coming, being built 6 at a time. Look at that. Just waves and waves of Marines. Another tank is being added to the mix. This is looking pretty tough, but we do have some High Templar on the field. So a couple of good storms could help. Could go a long way in defending against this. Oh, but he needs to make sure not to lose too much Dragoons. Alright, 1 Dragoon does go down. More High Templar being added to the force. Oh no. The Dragoons are so bunched up. The Zealots are trying to get around them. The good storm, though. Melting the bio that came with the tanks. But there's still a lot. The Zealots are getting up in there. Not a ton of Marine medic left, but enough to be a real nuisance. And the Zealots kind of tripping over themselves. Another phenomenal storm is just going to completely clear that out. But he needs to find an answer for these tanks. There's only 3 remaining, but there's a whole Congo line of reinforcements coming straight for Navain's natural. This is looking a little rough, especially since like the storm counts. I guess he's still producing the High Templar, and they're coming out. And he's going to have a few storms available. If he can get a couple like right here. Boom! Beautiful storm. Getting a little bit of collateral damage on his Zealots, but that's completely fine. Another tank goes down. This Zealot specifically, being a little bit of a hero. I also totally forgot that I had that replay panel up. I don't like having it up. I don't like knowing how much time is left in a match. It kind of spoils things in my opinion. Uh-oh. Turret and bunker down. This is actually going to be a huge problem. The Terran's getting a solid foothold right outside the Protoss base. No production at this third base either. I'm not even entirely sure Javi is aware that that third base is up. From a timing perspective, I think he knows, but this is definitely the more damaging area to attack, obviously. This is where all the production is. This will end the game. Really pushing for more Templar, getting the energy upgrade. This is a real pain. Trying to break through these bunkers. There's an SCV sitting there repairing it. The Dragoons are going down to these tanks. This is just so difficult to break through. It needs to get some storms down there. It needs to kill that SCV, honestly. Good storms. Bunch of bio getting knocked out. But this is a little bit of a stranglehold. Whoops. This is a little bit of a stranglehold. This is a solid contain, and it's taking a lot of resources and time to break through this. Definitely an inefficient fight for the Protoss at the moment. Potential fourth base, though. But I'm curious if Nevain's going to prioritize that over increased production. Pylon is destroyed right here, but Nevain's still not supply blocked. And Javi really pushing from this 2-base kind of infrastructure. Okay, so looks like Nevain's trying to go for the bust right here. I'm not sure this is going to be enough. The Storms are doing good work against the Bioforce, but not much taking care of these tanks, and the bunkers are still holding their own. There's an SCV with this group that just continues to plop these down. And you can see here, right, like the Protoss force just continually getting reset. And this was a solid, patient, wildly annoying push from Javi, and I'm sure Nevain is just really frustrated with this all sitting right on his front step. The production for Nevain is still centered primarily around Zealots and High Templar. And Javi's taking this opportunity to get a third. He is expanding south from his main base along that left-hand side of the map. Oh man, this is powerful. 1-1 upgraded for these infantry units as well. +2 attack about to be completed. No upgrades for the Protoss as of yet, with the exception of the High Templar energy. Oh no, he's getting on top of the probe line. And these Marines taking advantage of this space behind the mineral line. Minimizing that surface area in which like Zealots can come in and try to help clean it up. I think we may be seeing a GG here soon. Oh, that storm was insane! But unfortunately, only having High Templars while they're regaining energy is not going to be enough, I don't think. Great storm right there. Not going to be enough to kill the tank. I don't know if that SCV is still around. Some of these Marines getting a little overextended. This is just a brawl. Oh yeah, that SCV is still around. And the siege continues. It does look like a Marine and SCV did take out the probe down here. And it does also look like Javi is laying siege to this third base. So Nevain in a rocky position. And just continual Congo lines of Marines and tanks heading on over here to the top right. Huge SCV pull, or transfer I should say, from the main base, as it's been mined out, which means, yep, main base for Nevain has been mined out as well. Oh, that's a bummer of a storm. I don't think that hit anything. Okay, Nexus has been destroyed here at the Natural. The main base has been mined out. The only mining base for Nevain is this third at the moment, and is being raided by Marines and a siege tank. This seems to be where the focus is. A couple Dark Templar actually come out. Now it looks like a scan is. Oh man, that scan felt like it lasted forever, but it was enough to get rid of those 2 Dark Templar. All right, the siege is begun down here. Another Dark Templar, another 2 Dark Templar, but here comes the scan. That's going to be enough to knock both those out again. Final break attempt up here with the inclusion of a Dark Templar, but this turret, there's a couple turrets here, so it's going to be seen. And they're going to go down very quickly to this this foothold. And that's the GG. You know, he does say good luck versus Quim. We know that Quim is the opponent that Javi is going to face in the finals. So let's go ahead and let me see if I can get that set up real quick. We can just go into the finals. So let me see if I can alt-tab out of this without showing everyone everything. Here, let me go on break real quick, and we'll be back with the finals between Javi and Quim. Okay, should be good to go. Let's go ahead and go straight into the finals. Okay, so Javi has come through the winner's bracket, and we'll start off this finals with 1 win. Did I say Javi? I meant Quim. So Quim will start off with 1 win. This is a best of 5 series. So Quim will need 2 wins. Javi will need 3. So let's go ahead and jump into game number 1. And this is going to be Quim versus Javi on Radeon. All right. So here we go. Bottom left, we've got Quim, our blue Terran. And top left, we've got Javi, our red Terran. This is on Radeon. Let's go ahead and check it out. We just saw this in the previous matches, right? So really not anything crazy to say. Big things, especially on Terran and Terran, or Terran v Terran. We have these bridges and kind of this large kind of choke. If you're able to get out in front of this bridge, kind of like this area, if you're Javi up in the top left, then that'll really enable you to take your third. And then obviously the same for Quim down here in the bottom left. So not much to say about the map specifically, but I am curious to see how both these players end up fighting each other. And it's also Terran versus Terran, so maybe I chose to start this this cast a little late, but we'll see how long these matches go for. It's going to take a minute for anything to really show up. I mean, neither one of them going for any type of ridiculous, like, 8 barracks or anything like that. Both players really staying equal on the build. Now, I think where it's likely to deviate will be expansion timing, and then after that, probably number of factories as they decide to kind of build up their vultures, right? So I think that there's a world where we might see a barracks expand or an initial factory expand, and that'll be kind of one differentiator. And then when I'm talking like factory count, I'm curious if we're going to see like 2 factory vultures from one player or 3 factory vultures, or maybe even like siege or some sort of anti-vulture build, like some sort of like fast Goliath play or something along those lines. I don't know. But what I've seen a lot so far in StarCraft Underground is just a ton of vultures early on in these TVT matches. And it's generally the 2 or 3 vulture, or 2 or 3 factory vulture kind of builds that enable that. So initial factory here for both players. Does look like Javi's is all coming out a little bit quicker. To include Marines. Okay, so that's just one small deviation, which may feel like a little deal, but it's really not. When you're trying to shave off seconds for getting another factory or getting an expansion, 50 minerals a pop is not nothing, right? And so these Marines primary duty is to prevent that initial scouting SCV, and also just kind of block the ramp in the event of some sort of vulture run by or something like that. It does look like they're sharking out a little bit. Give them more time to chase down an SCV than maybe coming in for a scout like this guy. And there they are, ready to start blasting them. Vulture will finish him off. And then we have the barracks float for both players. Now the 2 Marines for Quim, unable to stop Javi's wily, slimy SCV from getting in the base. He's going to see a single factory. And he's going to know, okay, we're doing the same thing. With the exception that Javi has got an expansion going up. So, a couple vultures already out on the map for Javi. No add-on or anything as of yet. Javi opting to get that bunker. And I didn't even see what that was. Along with his expansion. Now we see Quim. Okay, so this is kind of where I said the deviations would start kind of happening. So we already saw a deviation with expansion timing, right? So Javi decided to expand. Quim did not. Quim's going to have those resources, and what he's doing with those resources is he's piling it into an additional factory, which isn't too crazy. Javi's doing the same thing, but then also an armory. Well, it does look like he's also getting his expansion, but he's opting to do his on the high ground and then float it down, and to do it a little bit later without bunker as of yet. So 3rd factory going down for Javi, 3rd factory going down for Quim, and Quim is starting Goliaths. And Goliaths are great, obviously, because they, shoot up, but they're also just really good against vultures, right? So if there's a ton of vultures, a few Goliaths, which, yeah, they're more expensive. No, they're not dropping mines, but they just shred vultures. So that is kind of the route it looks like Quim is going in this game. Vulture speed is being upgraded for Javi. And this Goliath is going to sit here and shoot at this barracks for a long time. And we'll get an example of kind of how this goes here in just a minute, because we have the 5 vultures coming down to Quim's base. Javi is seeing that Quim is in the process of getting an expansion down on the low ground right now. So he sees this as a window of, let's get in there and do some damage. And you'll see this Goliath, right, just start shredding, right? It is so good against vultures. And so he's lost 2 vultures and effectively just damaged 1 vulture. And that's pretty much because these Goliaths were here. He's going to end up losing this barracks, which, if he doesn't rebuild, may impact the speed in which he can get more factories. But it looks like Quim's barracks went down as well. So right now, if we just take stock of what we have, Quim's got 3 factories, just got his 2nd base. Javi's had his 2nd base for a while to include the gas associated with it, and is sitting on 4 factories. So I would say Javi is actually in a really strong position right now. The difference being that Quim is going for a little bit more of a sturdy build. More Goliaths, he's got tanks, he's got siege upgrading, he's already got weapons upgrades going down. Whereas Javi's going this more mass vulture, get mines, get the speed. He's getting an academy, which is going to help with any type of scans in the event that he's trying to find mines. So just a little bit of different styles right here. So we do have the mines kind of being annoying right here. Gonna inch forward with these Goliaths, get them to pop up and mine clear the old-fashioned way. Ooh, and these vultures are gonna sneak behind. I'm wondering if they're gonna be able to get into the natural and really damage kind of the economy, but no, there is already a tank here. And really, it's just these mines that are gonna be mega annoying. Javi doing a really good job of trying to maintain map control with these vultures. He's only just now started tank production. I say only just now. Recently started tank production, as he already has 4. But I really like that Javi's running around dropping mines all over the place. Gives lots of vision, damages things, and they're just such a pain in the butt to clear out. Now, I haven't seen Academy go down for Quim. So really, all of the mine clearing efforts that he's going to be doing are going to be by walking around and waiting for them to just pop up out of the ground and just shoot him down. Javi's vulture's taking a walloping from this tank. Nice little mix of mines here. You can kind of tell which one's which by just the color. That's a little tough to tell. Fourth factory being built for Quim. You can see that barracks having been rebuilt as well. No barracks being rebuilt for Javi as of yet, so he's going to be sitting on these 4 factories, and I'm wondering if that's going to play a factor here in a little bit, as the factory count is undoubtedly going to explode, right? Yeah, we're going up to 6 factories for Quim right now. And staying on parity is going to be really important. How Javi's doing so is he's taking a 3rd. So if he's just making that much more money, he'll be doing just fine. So pretty cool difference in just kind of like the paths both of these players have been taking to get to where they are. It does look like, for the most part, Quim has cleared all the mines, but I love that there's just 1 mine still sitting here behind his lines. Ooh, oh my gosh, that was huge. 3 tanks go down to a field of mines by Quim. That is no small thing. And right now, these tanks with the barracks, oh my gosh. Now, if he target fires that one, yep, 1 tank goes down. These vultures are still here. They're going to fight off the vultures. That was a rough engagement for Javi. Now, I want to see how Quim capitalizes on that. I think that he's just going to try to hunker down and get the command center that he's building right here over and established. I think right now is kind of that race. Let's get those 3rd bases up and fully operational. We have some vultures running in here trying to do some fancy mine drops. 1 tank does die, and the other 2 do as well. Phenomenal trade for Quim. Reducing that tank count, TVT is so often just who has more tanks, and sacrificing a few vultures to get that done is a trade that any Terran would take any day. So the barracks was rebuilt for Javi, going up to 7 factories. 7 factories for Quim as well. And the 3rd base being established here for Quim. So 3rd base was a little bit later, and I think the biggest impact that we're seeing to that right now is just like the difference in SCV count. But the difference being is that Quim has had much more effective engagements. Like the amount of tanks he's taken out for equivalently sized vulture forces is really big. And earlier when I was talking about the map, remember I was talking about like this bridge and this right here, and whichever direction you're fighting, whether it's defense or you're pushing into the opponent, controlling this spot, well, we're seeing that play out right now, right? So Javi is kind of officially taken this spot And that kind of forces Quim to be on the defensive here. Bunch of vultures trying to sneak out. Looks like a whole control group as Javi's trying to extend his tank line. These guys snooping and pooping, looking for a way around, potentially into the natural. If that were to occur, that would be a pretty big deal. Don't get bogged down with any of these. I don't even know if Javi's seeing these vultures. Runs up there, drops a mine. Drops a bunch of mines in the reinforcement path. I love that. And he's going to just annihilate all of the SCVs here. They don't stand a chance. Good responses here. That could have been really bad. Could have lost the tank. Still might, with some good target fire from the vultures. Drops a few more mines. Kills pretty much every SCV at the third base. And is going to just run straight into the natural. So many SCVs are dying. And earlier we were saying, you know, what Javi had as kind of an advantage was that early third base. The amount of SCVs that he had in relation to Quim. But we're seeing that advantage kind of disappear right here. So right now, 43 and dropping to the 52. But we do have a push. And this is often very inefficient. Like, it needs to be done, but it's often a struggle to break through some of these tank lines. Quim does it very, very well. Puts himself in a position where he's kind of now securing this key terrain. But he lost a lot doing it, right? Like, supplies are basically even. Javi has recovered extremely fast from those SCVs that were killed. He built them right back and he already has an SCV lead over Quim again. And I'm wondering if this eBay is just going to die. This is a fun game. Very Terran versus Terran, though. Very set up, you know, tank lines. Sit and stare at each other for a while. Build up a ton of things with wheels and tracks from a bunch of factories. And then throw them at each other. Love it. Alright, mine's doing work over here. Okay, and so now Javi has kind of reestablished his line just a little bit farther north. So that was a lot of fighting for about this much space. Oh no, tank left all by itself, but you can just see like how many vulture shots it takes to even break one tank down. And now we've got a little bit of a push. I don't think that Quim's got this, right? Javi's going to be able to probably kill the remaining tanks here. Now, this minefield is primarily Quim's. And so pushing into this, he's going to need to make sure that he's scanning. He's going to need to make sure that he's got his attention focused there. And these vultures, this control group of vultures that's been running around being a huge thorn in Javi's side, is going to finally get cleaned up. Scan went down, took out the mines that they laid. There's still a few over here that I'm wondering if they're going to accidentally snipe some of these tanks. Maybe some tanks that are trying to do like a cheeky reinforce or solidify this position. But for the most part, this is kind of where the line has been drawn. Both players banking up a good amount of minerals. Let's see what we got going on here. Dropships. You know, I kind of like the timing of this dropship play from Quim. One, it's a natural, you know, progression in the TVT fight, but we also just saw the eBay go down, right? So we haven't been seeing a whole lot of Goliath. There's one Goliath over here for Javi, but there's no turrets. And it doesn't look like he has the capability to even make turrets if he wanted to, with that eBay having been destroyed. So I'm wondering, you know, when those dropships come out, if he can make a huge impact early on, that could overwhelmingly give Quim an advantage. But he needs to survive this push right here. There's not a whole lot of tanks defending this. It's mostly mines, mostly vultures. The vultures are trying to close the distance. Some splash damage is going off on these tanks, but the mines are getting knocked out before they're doing any, damage. Good defensive matrix by Javi is going to increase the survivability of this push, especially when that was the tank being targeted by a lot of Quims. And this is scrappy. I think both sides are just going to deplete everything they've got right here. But Javi has reclaimed this amount of space. So another wonderful example of Terrans fighting and exchanging entire armies for, 3 inches of screen space. All right, dropship coming in. Ooh, Vultures saw it though. And I'm wondering if this is the moment. Yeah, you see that? Now Javi's recognizing, oh crap, I don't have an engineering bay. Let's go ahead and get one of those built. And so a few SCVs are going to go down. A good amount, actually. Quim's doing a very good job of target firing these. But the drop is annihilated. And we're back off to the races. The tanks are continuing to push into Quim's territory. Quim has a ton of money. Oh man, Javi is just on a roll right here. Bunch of dropships. Doesn't look like there's anything in any of them. The tank and vultures were dropped. Wow. That was a great hold. And it seemed to happen really fast. I'm sitting here thinking, wow, okay, Javi's got a very powerful push. This is really bad for Quim. But Quim cleans that up very well. Okay, just tons and tons and tons of reinforcements, reestablishing the line of mines. But during all of this, Quim was able to get up a 4th base, and Javi's had his up for a little while as well. And we are at that time where main bases are running out of minerals. Quim's a little bit behind Javi's when it comes to the mining out. Where's this vulture fight happening? Okay, so Javi did recognize that 4th base was up, got a couple vultures in there, and completely cleaned up all the SCVs there. Not good for Quim. Quim's going to need to make sure that survives, and he needs to get that 4th base up and running if he's not going to just be completely outproduced by Javi. And already, right, Javi's maintained this SCV lead. He has a supply lead. Now, Quim's got a really strong defense, but there is a world where he ends up just getting starved out. Right now, Javi does have the map control in this situation. And pretty much anything outside of this little corner is his to exploit. Brings the Goliath over. Slowly chip away at this command center. Should probably fly away at this point. But there's a lot going on. Javi's starting to get wraiths on the field as well. And we haven't seen much Goliath production beyond just the first few from Quim. Javi's got some Goliaths kind of sprinkled out throughout his forces. Oh, huge drop over here at the 3rd. Now this defense matrix soaking up a ton of damage. There's a lot of targeted fire there. And it eventually all gets killed. So Javi defends that. Didn't see how much damage was done, but I know that the SCV lead is still in the favor of Javi. Javi getting another command center up. Now I think it's obviously seen by the mine. So Quim is aware, but not much Quim can do about it right now. It does look like he's going to be dropping this 3rd. He does drop the 3rd. Now this is going to do a lot of damage. 2 tanks, a bunch of vultures, sayonara to these SCVs, and the dropships are going to bounce. Javi brings up a small force to take care of this. And this is going to get cleaned up, but you can see the economic damage that occurred, right? We're down to 38 SCVs for Javi. Ooh, dropship goes down. Being asked to play a game, it looks like. Now, this is actually a huge move from Quim. But I don't know if it's going to pay off right now. It's a little isolated. These tanks might go down. Yeah, he needs to probably head back. Or at least reinforce it, but there's still so many little skirmishes going on. This is an interesting point in the match. So before we had like these long lines of drawn out like tank trenches. And now we just have like little bundles of tanks facing off against each other. And the real differentiator is that Javi's got this air. He's got these wraiths. Now, yeah, it takes absolutely forever. Like each one of these wraith shots does 5 damage. But eventually it will knock out a tank. Good little breakout here from Quim. Starting to regain much of the map that he had lost to Javi. But my biggest concern for Quim is that he's got no money coming in. Like the income is dried up for the main and the natural. He only has 1 base mining to Javi's 2. Now he needs to go up here and he needs to kill a base. And secure one of his own. Oof, man, you gotta love to see how long the range of a siege tank is. Okay, so the tables have turned. Good old classic Terran versus Terran, and now we just have a large siege line cutting off kind of like the 3 main bases for Javi from Quim. Now Quim, he's probably thinking, okay, time to reset, right? Time to get another base up. So the vultures come up here, they clear this. He might be floating one over here. He sent all the SCVs. This may look like kind of like a long distance mining situation. I wouldn't be surprised if he floated one of these SCVs, but he may just construct one. He's pushing a lot of SCVs over here. And Javi's kind of collected his force. He's got it in the center of the map, and he's diving in. There's only 3 tanks here. The rest of Quim's force a little out of position, but the early warning from these tanks is going to be enough for him to kind of move everything forward, protect the long distance mining. But this isn't going to be sustainable. Okay, he does opt to build a command center up there. This is a little tough. This is a little bit of a tough position for Quim. The army for Javi's just so big. Javi's got another base up and running up here. And it's so frustrating to place mines and have workers just mining right over it. Like anything that has like acceleration doesn't set off a mine. SCVs and all workers for that matter fall into that category. Great fight, though. This is a phenomenal game 1. Oh, this long distance mining is killing me, though. Luckily, the command center is up. The income for Quim is about to skyrocket. Can Javi finish it before that happens? Now, also I want to note, the 3rd base is out of minerals. We're at that point where the Terran needs to expand just to keep playing. Like, there's nothing left. And Javi does have that income advantage and also continues to seal off Quim into these little corners. This is a big force. 60 supply difference. That's a lot of tanks. You see scans going down all over the place? Javi, I think it's Javi doing a lot of this scanning, because I saw one go down here. So, aware that these bases are pretty mined out. His 3rd base has just mined out. We have an SCV transfer going up here to the 12 o'clock. And then it looks like Javi's preparing to take the natural base up here in the top right. And that's that. Both players continuing to get upgrades. Javi's doubling down kind of on the air approach. Building another starport at home, getting dropships of his own. Which I think is a great idea, because I think if Javi, with everything mined out, right, the attention is all on the front. It is all on getting another expansion. But if he could get in and get the production over here, then he could finish it. Quim, he's had enough. He calls GG, and that's the end of game number 1. Now, Quim was the one that came in with the one map win from the winner's bracket. And so we have an evened up series now. So now we are at 1-1 in the best of 5 series. Let's go into game number 2. So game number 2, this one is on Metropolis. Cool. Both players, 1 win each. It's Terran versus Terran. So make sure you have a drink, you're hydrated, do your stretches. And you're ready to jam with the best music in StarCraft. Gonna reveal this whole map. This is Metropolis. We already talked about it earlier. Drop opportunities, gaps behind the minerals. And we have another not cross-spawn situation, right? So when we saw this earlier with the other match that we were watching and we had Metropolis, I kind of talked about the rotational symmetry and how it's not all spawns or counter spawns are really created equal. And so in this situation we have Javi, I would say, with the advantage of having the more vulnerable side of Quim's base directed towards him. Let me remember how to unreveal the map. Here we go. So last game we saw a couple things. We saw a couple points in the match where things went differently. We saw the expansion timing go differently. I think it was Javi that had the earlier expansion and opted to go vultures. And then we had Quim, on the other hand, who opted to... He built like a vulture, but then he went quickly into Goliaths and got a couple Goliaths early on, which really fended off Javi's vulture play very well, right? He ran in with like the 5 vultures. The Goliaths were there, ready, knocked him out. And that really set Quim up for a very strong early game. But then the economy kind of picked up for Javi. He was able to get those tanks out earlier. And then the rest was kind of just, you know, the Terran versus Terran slog. Here we're seeing the barracks go down on the low ground for Javi. Barracks on the high ground for Quim. No differentiation as of yet. You can look up here in the top left of the production. Everything is pretty much 1 for 1. Quim's build just being executed just a tiny bit faster. And Javi's going to have his SCV walk right in on first try and is going to know where Quim is at. And so will Javi. Or I'm sorry, so will Quim. Quim will know where Javi is at. Marina's out, but he's not going to be able to stop that. He's going to get in. He's going to see that it's the same old that he's doing. Factory's going down for both players. Quim building a Marine. He can build a bunker. He is not. Okay, I'm curious. What's this SCV doing? See, and you can see things like this. It's Metropolis, baby. People like to hide things. They like to use this little extended area for shenanigans. These 2 Marines poking out, trying to get that SCV. SCV ends up juking them. Ends up back in the base, but the Marines are being sent across by Quim. Anyway. Now, Quim is actually the first to get an expansion on this one. Javi shortly following. And the builds continue to be very, very identical, essentially. Barracks float has begun for Quim. And Quim's Marines here not going to be able to do anything. The Vulture's out. I'm not entirely sure what he was looking to gain. from those 2 Marines. Yeah, this vulture's actually gonna hunt them down. Yo, Tonzi, what's up, my man? Okay, second factory going down for Javi. Still at 1 factory for Quim. Does look like maybe a second one about to be constructed. Second one indeed. Barracks are saying, hey, what's up? Yeah, hey, how's it going? Doing barracks things. SCV healing up the vulture that was had the light combat with the Marines. Good transfer timing. I was watching an Artosis cast, which is, you know, do at your own risk. But he was saying that at 1300 mineral or 1300 health of your CC at the natural, that's when you transfer. They'll get there right on time. Fun fact. All right. Javi dives in with a few vultures. 1 does go down. And we start seeing deviation. Okay, we love deviations. So, I don't know where it is. Here it is. So down here in this corner, I'm not sure if Javi can see it. Hold on. I want to see that. So, Quim is placing a starport right down here, which opens up that Metropolis shenanigans that I'm always talking about. This map is so funny for it. And this barracks that floated over did not see it. And I have no doubt that that is going to come into play. A couple Marines shooting down a barracks. Vultures continuing to be produced. A 3rd factory going down. Javi already has his 3rd up, and he's researching vulture speed at the moment. No machine shop as of yet for Quim. These vultures are going to be charging across the map. And we have a Wraith being produced down here in that hidden starport. Now, the Wraith can be a huge pain, especially since, well, let's watch this engagement, but there's no armory. Right? I didn't see an engineering bay. There's no turrets. If these Wraiths get out and they start completely jacking up mineral lines, this could be a problem. But on the flip side, I don't know if there's anything at home. There's 1 vulture at home. If these vultures get in before the Wraiths get any substantial numbers, Javi could just completely annihilate all of the SCVs here, and that's what he's doing. He targets down that vulture. Now, the Wraith has come out, but it's 1 Wraith, and Wraiths just don't do much damage. And the vultures are starting to just kill so many SCVs. Gonna start taking out this vulture. Now, there's 1 tank here. Good. SCV here to repair. It's gonna be needed. I think that kills the bunker. Don't know if that was canceled. But Quim, sitting at 33 supply to a 59 supply Javi, is not where you want to be at the moment. The vultures continue to come in, using the Wraith to start attacking these vultures. Again, it's just a little pea shooter. Now, another Wraith is going to join the fray. You know, getting these up in larger numbers is obviously going to increase the DPS that it has coming out. Uh-oh. A couple cheeky mines here right on the ramp. This is looking incredibly frustrating. Now, the vultures drop some mines, and then they start diving the SCVs. More SCVs go down. And that's it. That's game number 2. Okay, so we have Javi leading the series now 2-1. Because remember, Quim showed up with a win for coming in through the winner's bracket. Now let's go into game number 3 and let's see what happens in this finals for number 3 Brood War tournament. And I'll just say, you know, like StarCraft Underground, it has been so much fun, right? Like if you're not a part of it, you should join it because everyone that's been in it has been having a good time. Lots of brackets. There's always a tournament to play. I think we have like 11 active right now. There's got to be more than that. Yeah, so there's been like 17 that have fired between Brood War and StarCraft 2. And so I have a lot of these matches to get through. Alrighty. So anyway, we are on the map that I missed. Polestar, I think. Yeah. And so up here in the top right, Blue Terran, we got Quimsy. And then bottom left, we've got Javi. So this is the first cross spawn spawning that we've had during this series. And as far as the map itself, the ramp and the choke leading to the natural do have these eggs which are kind of annoying, especially up here on this ramp. Siege tanks don't like them. They don't behave well around them. Generally something that you'll see whenever there's kind of a lull or a moment and there's significant enough firepower. I imagine we're going to watch both these Terran players just knock these out just so they can go up and down their own ramp. They're so annoying. Other things to consider is this high ground into low ground into high ground everywhere else kind of situation. So the natural is on low ground. And some of the key portions of terrain associated with this map is kind of like this spot and this spot, which makes sense, right? Because one, it's high ground into low ground, and two, because that's where the entrances are to these expansions. So yeah, not rocket science, but worth mentioning. Pretty solid map, actually. Seems really balanced. Okay, wow. Here we go. We've got some excitement. Quim going for a little bit of cheese. He's got a double racks in the middle of the map. Now, he doesn't know where Javi is yet. He still hasn't scouted. Luckily, putting in the middle, you know, he can get to any of the locations very quickly. But what I'm really curious about to see is the scouting pattern for Javi. Because if Javi goes over here to the right, and then he goes cross map, I think he might run into this. Now, Quim needed to do a little bit of early scouting as well. He is going to be heading down here to the bottom right. He's going to see this SCV. And I think that it's a fair assumption, if he's seeing this SCV here at the time that he is, that he should know Javi is over here. Just like Javi should know that Quim is up here. A second SCV? He hasn't done this before. Now, one of the... Oh my gosh! What is this? They can't see each other, can they? This is hilarious. Oh my gosh. Okay, he does cancel the factory, though. But that, how funny is that? Both players going straight for the middle, building almost right next to each other. That is hilarious. Okay, so we got one Marine out, a second one, and then a third one being produced here for Javi. Javi knows that this double racks push is coming. Is he going to be able to defend it? He's got two Marines up here. He's got the SCV. Oh, he pushes away the initial two. Okay, but the fresh ones are coming up. So doing a little bit of a flip-flop here. Now, 3 Marines are up top of the ramp. They do have the high ground advantage, right? In Brood War, high ground actually matters. You get a lot of hits. If you're on the low ground shooting up, you get a lot of misses to your attacks. And so right now, he's got home field advantage, and somehow Javi is winning these firefights. Now, he is only constructing one Marine at a time, though. So Quimsy does have kind of like the production advantage, and he is starting to bunker down here. But with the SCVs in the fight, oh my gosh, Quimsy takes out all the Marines. He might take out this SCV as well, but once this Vulture pops, he's going to need more Marines than this. He's going to need to get them down in this bunker if he plans on keeping this push going. Great timing for the Vulture. So the Vulture is here. That's going to shut down any movements up the ramp. And honestly, what I would do with this Vulture is just dive the main base. He knows all of the Marines are being constructed right here. He can probably just go straight up here and just start killing all of the SCVs. Engineering bay, creating a wall down here from which to fight. Now the SCV does get knocked out. The engineering bay, I mean, it's not gonna live for too long. Good micro here. Does kill that Marine. If it gets hit one more time, it's dead. Oh my gosh! Quim's Marine's just moving around. Okay, does kill the Vulture. I was gonna freak out if that Vulture didn't die. Okay, Javi plugging away at this engineering bay. There's only 2 Marines in this bunker, but it's still plenty to be a nuisance for this one Vulture and Marines. Now, getting the machine shop, I wouldn't be shocked if I don't know what the right play is here. Maybe I think if Javi got like a tank, one tank would clear this, but it would take forever, right? But I don't think, you know, maybe the alternative would be just more Vultures, and doesn't really sound right either. So we'll see what he ends up doing. One of these barracks being floated. I think it's actually going to be floated to help with this wall. I think it's going to be landed. He may float it around just to look a little bit, but I don't think he's terribly concerned. He might just land it for starting to produce right outside the base. Now, Quincy probably also knows or is aware that he's lower on the worker count, right? He has not gotten the damage that he's looking for. So yes, this bunker is still here. Yes, it was a really cool move, but no, I wouldn't say he's ahead. And I like that Quincy has taken the time to get this CC up. And I wouldn't have been shocked entirely if Javi would have done the same thing up here on the high ground in preparation to lower it and start getting that economy booming right off the bat. But he is going to have that second factory, and Quincy's sitting on one. So this is going to get cleaned up. Overall, I would say that the rush was not effective. I mean, it was effective in the sense that he delayed the expansion, but really Javi just needs to alter his build order to be a little bit more aggressive, and that's what we're seeing, right? We're seeing just tanks, right? And he's getting the siege mode. Or I'm sorry, that's Quincy getting the siege mode, but he's just he's massing up on tanks. And I don't think that there's much defense here for Quim. The second barracks has gone down. This first one here, it's just floating away. And there's one tank on defense. Now siege mode's almost done. That'll help. And you can see here, I think what we're seeing is these eggs being a pain in the butt for the AI. Told you. Those eggs. Sometimes they're the MVP of a match. Alright, so the Vulture gets killed. And here comes the push. There's only one tank here. One tank and a Goliath. Second siege tank being constructed. Now, if he wants any chance of holding this, he's going to need some SCV support. The Goliath is getting in the way. It's slowing it down. Got the siege mode up. But I think the numbers are just going to be able to push through. Siege tank takes out one tank in siege mode. But the other one just gets right up in its face. Now, we do see the boys being pulled. But I think it's a little too late. I think we needed those to wall off, get a little bit of separation. Yo, what's up, Tonzi? I see your test. I think there's a little bit of a delay, though, that I had on this stream. So, anyway, I see your chat. All right, so the siege mode's up. Does take out another tank. Trying to hold this, but, I mean, even if he did, like, he was at 8 workers. Really went all in with that rush, and it just didn't pay off. But great finals, right? That does crown Javi as the Brood War #3 champion. And he ends up winning 3-1 because Quim had that one win from being the finalist from the winner's bracket. So that'll be it for tonight. This was great. I don't know if I'll keep doing the Twitch stream aspect of this. Normally I just do VODs, and now I've got to split it up between the lower bracket VOD and maybe this VOD. Maybe I'll just throw it all up together. I don't know. But anyway, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time.